Hello everyone, I'm Aannsha Jones and today I'm going to show you how to eco-print an old t-shirt. The t-shirt is a cotton t-shirt that I actually eco-printed about a year or two ago, and you can still see some of the patterns from the previous leaves on the material, but it's a little bit washed out now, and I thought that it would be a good time to reprint it. So first of all, I sprayed the cotton t-shirt with an old solution that I had made up, basically made with water, some alum and also washing soda in it. While I sprayed the t-shirt, I soaked the plant material in a solution of vinegar and water, and it was 50% white vinegar and 50% water. Vinegar and water is a mordant, and it helps the plant materials to give up their natural dyes when they're on the material and being steamed. Once I'd sprayed the material all the way front and back, I then placed the leaves and the flowers in a pattern that I liked. So what you can see me doing here is taking out the leaves from the vinegar and water solution and then dipping them in a solution of iron and water. Now what I'm using here to make the iron water is basically rusty nails, and they've been sitting in that water that had a little bit of vinegar for quite a while, and over time the nails have given up the rust. Now you can also use ferrous sulfate or iron sulfate. That comes in a powder, and you can dissolve a small amount of that, say half teaspoon to a teaspoon, in about 2 liters of water, and that will give you a good solution for mordanting. As with any parts of this process, I would encourage you to experiment with different strengths of solutions of your mordants, because each solution will give you a slightly different result. Now bear in mind that ferrous sulfate or iron sulfate is actually slightly toxic, so you don't want to eat anything while you're working, and always wash your hands afterwards. Now I usually wear disposable gloves, but this was an off-the-cuff project. I decided just to do it on the spur of the moment, and I didn't have any rubber gloves that I could use, so I had to just use my bare hands. So basically all I'm doing here is I'm taking the leaves out of the vinegar water and dipping them into the iron water solution, and then placing them in a pattern that I like. You will probably notice that the rust settles to the bottom of the container, so every now and then just give it a stir with the leaves even, and that will ensure that you get good coverage on your leaves. Iron water helps to give a nice darker defined outline on the eco-printed material, so without using iron water you will get prints, but they won't be quite as defined. It also helps the colour to be slightly darker, so if you're looking for a darker result, then you'll be using an iron mordant. There are lots of good references out there in terms of books and also websites and blogs that will give you information on the different mordants that you can use, and also the different solutions, and also when to use them, because you can pre-mordant, which is basically what I did with spraying the t-shirt, and you can also mordant the leaves, and then I'm going to be using steam for this eco printing process, but you can even use the actual dye pot as a mordanting material itself. So if you've got an aluminium or a copper pot, that will impart some of the mordanting properties from the metal that the pot is made from. I find it's a really good habit to get into, to note down in a dedicated notebook exactly what I am using and the process that I'm using for each project. So I'd encourage you to get a notebook and to write down the details of the mordants that you use, the materials that you're working on, the leaves that you're using, and the amount of time that you actually boil or steam the bundle. The plant material that I'm using today in this project is eucalyptus and tinkling satin ash, which does have a Latin name which I can't pronounce, and I will put it down in the notes for you. I also used bottle brush, leaves and flowers, and you'll see right at the end of the project I even put a few rusty nails onto the outside of the bundle just to give a little bit of extra interest. When I'm happy with the layout of the leaves, I cover the whole t-shirt with a resist, and in this case I'm using an old plastic bag which you can see I've used before. Because it's a recyclable plastic bag, it's actually taken up the dye of some of the leaves that I used in my previous project. Basically, a resist is something that will prevent the printing of the dyes from the leaves going through onto other parts of the material. So if you want a nice clean single print rather than a doubling print from where you're folding it, then use a resist. When you fold the material over the resist, try your best to keep the plant material in place, and that way you will keep the design as close as possible to how you've laid it out. As you can see, I'm adding extra leaves as I fold the material. And this is giving leaf prints to the other side of the material. I also place some of the leaves right way up and some of them upside down, because the different sides of the leaves themselves will give up a different amount of dye. It's quite an amazing process actually. When I come to folding the bundle, you'll notice that I keep it as tight as possible, because what you want to do is you want to keep the plant material as closely touching the material that you're working on, and that way you'll get really crisp prints. I did try to roll the bundle onto a stick, which is often what I do because it really does give a nice tight impression between the leaves and the cotton. But this time the bundle was too thick, so I discarded the stick really quickly because I realized it wasn't going to work, and I just ended up tying it with twine. Because I chose at the last minute just to tie it with twine, I had to rethink how I was going to tie it and place the final leaves on the outside. So what I ended up doing was tying it and stuffing some of the leaves under the string, but that worked just as well. The important thing is that you get really close contact between all the materials that you're working with, and that way you'll get a lovely clear print at the end of it. And once it's tied tightly, then all that's left to do is to place it into the steam pot. Now I've got a large pot that I use only for dyeing, so there's water boiling at the bottom and there's a little sieve that I've tied so that it's suspended above the water, and that's what I place the bundle onto. And then I just cover it with a lid, and I cover the lid with a tea towel to prevent the steam from coming out through the little holes in the lid. And then it's just a case of leaving it for 2 hours. Eucalyptus leaves have got a fabulous amount of colour in them, but it takes them a long time to give up that colour. And that's it. At the end of this video you can see a couple of photographs that I've taken of the t-shirt immediately after it's been unbundled, and I think you'll agree with me that it's looking really good. It's a great result. I'm really pleased with it. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, then please like and please subscribe, because I will be putting more videos like this and other creative projects that I accomplish up for you to have a look and to learn from and to get ideas from. And if you have any comments at all, if you've got any thoughts about the project, or if you've done something similar and you've received different results, or you've used different mordants, I'd love to hear from you. Please post them in the comment section below. But for now, please like and subscribe. My name is Aannsha Jones, and thank you for watching this project.